we're making curtains. And I've made so many different curtains. This is how I chose to make these particular curtains. Fabric. Those two are for the living room. The pink is for the bedroom. Just some little trims that I've pulled out that I might want to use. The liquid stitch, the Elmer's glue, a staple, toothpicks, straight pins, lots of straight pins, a little bowl, scissors, brushes, the usual. Now these I made out of cardboard, and they are the valance, and they're just made out of cardboard, and then I cut the ends so they would go against the wall. I didn't feel it was strong enough. I put in some little pieces of balsa wood and painted them. These are little templates that I measured the windows. I wasn't getting really fancy with these curtains. I wanted the curtains to just kind of blend into the wall, sort of, kinda. So I just kind of measured that, and then the length, I left it longer because you can always cut it, but you can't add to it. There's the big living room one with the valance, and the other living room one. So once I got all that done, we were moving right along. And the one thing that's a lifesaver in this whole process is a foam board. You can get them at the Dollar Tree. I covered it with wax paper. So here you can see I went ahead and started doing the pink ones and then the bottom one. I'm just going to pleat these. They're going to be a simple pleat. That's the valance for the living room. And then what I do is I just cut out the piece of fabric. Just gonna cut it in half. Nothing fancy with these curtains I'm making. I've made so many different curtains. I didn't want these to be poofy, if poofy is a word. Some water. That's kind of a lot of water. And then we're going to take Elmer's glue, and you're just going to put Elmer's glue in the water. It depends on how stiff you want the curtains. These curtains are going to be stiff, not poofy. So the more glue, the stiffer it gets. Just make sure you mix it up real good. This is really easy. And I like easy. And then you're just going to take the glue and water mixture and just cover the fabric. It's not going to change the color of the fabric. The glue dries clear. And at this point, when you get this, I don't want to say saturated because you're not going to saturate it, but you're going to cover it. You can take and maneuver this material. If you wanted it to go back with a swag, you could fold it that way and then pin it. Because however you're going to fold it and form your curtain is the way it's going to come out when it dries. So you can pleat it and pull it and pin it and just play around with it. That's the best way to do it, just play around with it. But I'm just going to pleat it. Lots of pins. For the first fold, I go under. And pin. And you see how easy it is with that foam board? The pins go right into it. It's so worth $1. And I've had this one for a while. You can just keep reusing it because I lined it with the wax paper. You can also cover it with aluminum foil if you want. The next pleat goes over. And the material's pretty easy to work with. This is just a cotton. I get 1/4 yard. You can get less, but I always do in case I make a mistake. And just the pleats go over. I've made curtains with rods. I've made them with vintage handkerchiefs. I've made so many different ones. I've even bought curtains and valances when I just wasn't in the mood to make them. And you just keep going over, folding your fabric over. It's pretty easy to work with when it's wet because when you move it, it stays where you want to put it. And the colors I chose for the living room is the colors that is in the flowered wallpaper. That's just what I chose. And the last fold's gonna go under, so that when it's done, it's nice and finished. Look at those pins just going into that foam board. There are just some things that I just love. Simple things. And here we are. These are the other curtains for the living room, and those are done and they're pinned and drying. I did this just so that the video wouldn't be too long. Everybody's busy. Not everybody has time for a really long video. So I'm just kind of giving you the basics of how I do it. It's easy. We'll let it dry, and I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, so we're dry overnight, and the pins are out, and there is what I have, and it's pleated. I went ahead and put the material and glued it with liquid stitch onto the valance. So I'm going to hot glue. I'm just going to hot glue that right in there, and that's the way I chose for it to look. Just really easy. Then you take the little valance on the ends, hot glue, and stick it in your house. There's the upstairs ones. They are fancy, but I think once I get everything in, there'll be a nice accent. I went with a soft pink, and I had that fringe, and I thought, yeah, this is cute. And then there's the ones in the living room, and they look good. They blend in with the house. They're not sticking out. They're not poofy. There's that poofy word again. They're not poofy. I don't play the guitar, my husband does. And they look good. They just kind of blend like they've always been there. The inside is done, except for the front door. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach the back roof. I'm going to shingle it with the cardboard. I'm going to paint it. I'm going to trim it. And I'm going to move on to a bunch of different things. So the next video will be an update before we do the landscaping.